This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas. Magazine publisher and entrepreneur Judith Mancini is sharing captivating conversations with experts in their field about the latest trends in our ever-changing world to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Judith Mancini today will spark your interest and inspire you to lead your best life ever. And now, here's Judith.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me this morning. Well, there is so much news going on. I have no idea how you can keep up with it. But here's my suggestion. Read all of the top news sites in your emails, or Google them, or DuckDuckGo find them. Read all of those. Don't just read one, read or listen to or watch Fox, CNN, the three networks. Do some of the other things from overseas. Read what's being said in the BBC. Check out what some of the people are saying about us. Check out Al Jazeera. You can get all of this on your laptop or your computer, or even on your phone if you have one of those fancy smancy new phones, which I don't. I have an ancient phone. I think I better upgrade so I could take it with me 24 hours a day. The news. Well, today I want to start out by talking about the attempted assassination of former President Trump. There's so many questions to be asked and so many different stories. It's hard to believe some of the people that were talking about it. And now, though she has quit, the director, the former director who left in disgrace of the Secret Service, says it will take at least 60 days for her to get a report put together. What? It doesn't take a college student who has to look up all sorts of information and do lots of research to write a report. 60 days? Come on. These field people who have been visiting the site, and even some of Congress, the House and the Senate, have sent people over to the site, and they have looked at it. Now, let me tell you, I've looked at it over and over whenever I could see it coming up on the news. And the videos that are being released by some of the people that had attended and were over there by the trees outside of the perimeter, looking into where he was holding his rally. That roof, I don't think it would be that hard to get on that roof. My brother and I used to climb on people's roofs. Well, don't tell anybody. I don't want to get arrested. That roof with a slope, they couldn't put permanent for the rally. Secret Service agents on, only had a small slope. I could have walked on that roof in my 4-inch stilettos. This is ridiculous. This is a downfall of the leaders of the Secret Service, not the actual Secret Service agents who do the work, like those brave men who all threw themselves on top, and women on top of President Trump. It is a miracle by God that he was not killed. But now what they have, how they try to solve it, is make him have his rallies indoors. That's just another step trying to get him fewer votes because he can't campaign outdoors where he can have 50,000 instead of maybe 5,000 in a basketball stadium. This is got to stop. This is a one-sided campaign. And as I get into that, I'm going to just segue into what has happened with the naming as Kamala Harris as the presumptive candidate for the election. First of all, this is my opinion, and I'm sure some of you have thought the same thing. This has been a coup to get rid of Joe Biden. He couldn't win the election, say all the numbers that people are putting up in polls and everything else. When he'd have a rally, maybe 1,000 to 2,000 people would show up. He's not an inspiring speaker anymore. Why? Because his health is failing. He's sinking into dementia of some sort. You can see by the way he talks, by the way he acts. This is ridiculous. What about all those people that voted for Biden in the primaries? They've taken all their votes away from them. They've become disenfranchised. Their votes don't count. Who is it that said that Kamala could be the person running for the highest office in our land? Who decided this? I think it's the deep state. And the deep state, I believe, has been running this administration from the very beginning. Now, in my opinion, I've never understood, or maybe I do understand and don't want to believe it, that the Obamas bought their house just blocks away from the White House because they wanted to be talking to Joe Biden all the time. Yes, they have property all over the country in different parts. And yes, they're entitled to do what they want. But I can't say that they were very wealthy when they took office. Oh, well, I just haven't figured out how to get that much money myself to have homes in all the different best areas of the country. Well, that's another story for another day. But in my mind, nobody in this administration has done a favor for Joe Biden. There's something called respect of office, and I'm referring the respect that every American should have for the office of the presidency. It's our top leader. Now, I understand that there's been a little bit of problems with communication. Half the time you can't understand what Joe Biden is saying, and that to me is elder abuse. I don't think he should have been left up there on his own to just read the teleprompter or the note cards that say pause here, period, leave the stage, stage right, stage left. This is a disgrace to the administration, I feel, and to our country for not pressing the people in charge to do more to help Biden. What happened with the people that were sending doctors to the White House all the time, day after day after day in the last couple of months, saying that he is perfectly fine? And then all of a sudden, he develops COVID. And how come he can go on stage like at the State of the Union address and some of his other addresses and be peppy and pretty lucid and able to give a speech that was much more palatable than what he has been doing lately? Has a doctor been injecting him with super vitamins or super energy solutions or something before he speaks? Or is a doctor maybe giving him shots to make him supple up the stairs to get into Air Force One? Now, no doubt he looks and acts differently all the time. And of course, this happens to dementia patients as they're going through the progress of becoming more and more ill. But it does seem a little odd that he was so sick with COVID and he's had a cough for many months. Was he tested every day? And why did he get it 4 times? He went out campaigning and he was around everybody, he never wore a mask. Didn't they think he was susceptible to becoming ill? After all, he is an elderly man, and we're supposed to protect people like that. It infuriates me that nobody respects Joe Biden anymore. He did give a lot of time for what he thought was the best for our country. Now, don't get me wrong, my Republican and friends that are for Trump, because everybody knows I am for President Trump and I am a Republican. I'm a conservative Republican. Not a right-leaning conservative, okay? I'm a more moderate conservative. But I am supporting President Trump. Now, everybody's talking about age and Biden's age being too old, but there are many people who go around, start businesses, have very active social lives. Some people get remarried. Some people just travel the world. And some people are still working because they have to, because of the economics that are going on in this country with inflation and jobs and spending. As Kamala said, let's pay off student debt. Let's pay off teachers and make them make more money. And yes, I agree, teachers are underpaid. But I don't know that we should get the government in there to do the minimum wage of teachers and things like this. This has been the Democrats' idea all along. Bigger government, bigger spending. Look what has happened. I'll tell you what I used to buy for groceries in a bag of groceries has gone up about 30 to 50% on different products. Now, I can afford this, not very well because I have to give up some other things. One thing where I'm very lucky is I got out of Los Angeles area and the Beverly Hills area and Oak Park and all and moved to the Palm Springs desert area. And for some reason, gas is cheaper here, even though it has to be trucked in further. So, but we don't drive anywhere now. We've cut out driving because everything we want and like to do is right here. Most people who want to cut back on everything and see if they can't survive this, whatever you want to call it, recession, downswing, just disaster, is up to you. But I didn't want to leave California, and my husband doesn't want to leave me. So even though he's not from California, he's kind of stuck here. But, you know, we don't have a huge income now from him being a CEO and me being a CEO. We're retired. There's nobody to help us. I wouldn't dare ask my daughter to help me now when she is raising 2 kids and trying to put them through school, and she just got her master's. So she and her husband are doing well, but not as well as they thought they would be doing when they look back to a few years ago. to when President Trump is in. Now, I don't ask my daughter who she's voting for. I think at the age of close to 50, she's quite capable of making up her mind and doing it in an educated way. And if we differ in our opinions, that's good too. That's how I raised her, to do that. And I think a lot of you out there would be happier if you would let your growing children do what they think is right. We are a democracy, and we should be able to make up our minds about who we will vote for. However, I think this is an illegitimate election because who decided that Kamala Harris should take over? They've now said she has enough delegates to take the nomination the minute she steps in the door at the convention coming up in a couple weeks. What? So she goes around, and some of the polls say she's going up. But what about those voters who voted in the primaries for Joe Biden? Now, I don't think he's capable of running a campaign, but when I think about that, I don't think he's capable of running our country. So who is running our country? The deep state. Here's a question to ask yourself, not just about the delegates and how they're going to do this, and apparently they're going to have them vote on the internet, virtually. Well, that's an interesting thought. I don't know how many hours or days they will have to do it, if it will be at a specific time, and they will change their votes to see who should be the preemptive or then the actual nomination for president, Kamala Harris. Now, don't you think it's a little strange that there's not another Democrat who thought that he or she could stand up there and do a better job than Kamala? Because after all, she couldn't even fulfill her job as czar of the border. She has some pretty odd things. She just gave a speech someplace to a second largest teachers union. Well, really? This is interesting to me. How did she get all of these campaign speeches set up around the country now? She's concentrating on states where she polled a little better than Biden, but not by much. They both have very low polling rates. Now, I'm not trying to give you a whole campaign speech myself here, but here are some other things I heard her talk about today when she was on camera at the teachers union. We won't ban books like the Republicans do. We won't ban books in school. Well, do you know what the Democrats have banned? Books like Anne Frank, Catcher in the Rye, classics that teach lessons also. But they don't ban books about changing sex when you're a child. They don't ban those books. They don't ban books that tell you how to have sex and the different ways you can have sex when you're a child. And you have access to these in kindergarten through 6th grade and on up. I would not want my soon-to-be 6-year-old grandson or my soon-to-be 10-year-old grandson reading these books. What happened to some of the other books? Okay, Huckleberry Finn, Tom Sawyer. Yes, they were racist, but don't you think that children should learn what it was like and how some friendships could be formed after finding out about people and what's going on? Don't you think that many of us who had to read Anne Frank in junior high or high school, it was fairly new then, don't you think that's one of the ways we read and learned about the Holocaust and how it affected people. I don't know. I'm on a rampage today, I guess. I could never vote for a woman who wanted to put books like that in schools for children, small children's, and have school classes for small children on sex. Oh, people of our age had to have sex classes in school. The girls were separated from the boys, and it told you how your body was developing. It didn't go into the Sex Act. I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing. I don't think that you need to be told how to have sex, except safely. Learn it on your own. That's part of the fun and part of the love that you feel for someone. I'm not going to tell you when to have sex. We'll get off the subject right now. So, what I want to know is this a coup? And did the assassination have anything to tie in with how people feel about President Trump? Why can't they find out exactly who sent this rather amateur assassin to get President Trump? Was he a lone wolf? I don't know. But I think they could get some idea a little faster. Why did it take so long for them to break into his phone and find these accounts overseas? I would think they'd have the top people in sorry, in the United States that work on technology, and they could have broken into his phone and gotten these messages a little sooner after he was killed. And by the way, they showed pictures on this roof with where the body of the shooter crawled, perhaps, or crawled down from where he shot. And after he was himself shot, there is a path of blood, and next to him are the 8 bullet shells from the gun that people heard, the 8 shots. But an interesting thing to me is after they were looking at the slope of the roof when investigating the shooting, and after the resigned head of the Secret Service said it was too steep to put people up there, a 70-year-old man climbed up there. There's something going on, and I don't like it. I want to know what's going on in the Republican Party. I want to know what's going on in the Democrat Party. I want to know who is behind pushing in a very ornery, degrading way to push Biden out of the campaign trail. It wasn't his idea. Now, I do not think he should be president, and I do think since he has resigned from the campaign, he should resign his position as president, because nobody is watching what's going on. He is incapable of doing it. He has only had something like two cabinet meetings this year, or maybe last year. I'm not sure of the date on that. How can you only have 2 cabinet meetings? This is craziness. This is not a company with a board of directors that has a CEO that works all the time. He is the CEO, and he doesn't work all the time. The most you know about him is he likes chocolate chip ice cream. And wasn't that kind of phony of Kamala going in with 2 little girls to get ice cream the other day? These people are nuts. Is ice cream going to make you vote for somebody? Craziness. Okay, we all love to hear personal tidbits about our politicians and our people who run our country, but enough is enough. Get off the ice cream kick. Anybody talking coup? Anybody thinking about the Ides of March? Well, I don't know, but if he can't run and talk, even with the teleprompter's help, on the campaign trail, he is not capable of making decisions for our country. Do you have any idea what's going on now? Well, let me tell you something that happened a couple days ago, maybe yesterday, I think it was. Up by Alaska, now not in Alaskan airspace itself, but right outside of it, some jets from China and also Russia, yeah, that's Xi and Putin, flew up there and flew around for a little bit and then went back. They wanted to assess the response time and the time it would take them to get there and our response time if they decided to attack us. We are at our most vulnerable in our country since 9/11. Now, you want to tell me that, well, not you specifically, because most of my people are leaning towards Trump, and the others that aren't get on here to see what I have to say about it and then criticize me. But that's okay. Freedom of speech is still all right, I think. Not necessarily, but here it is, okay? What we want to know is, what are they going to do with Taiwan? Now, we have some ships over there. Taiwan is going to be invaded by China. And in Taiwan, they are actually passing out gas masks and readying all of the young men. And I didn't see any women, but probably women. They are ramping up to protect themselves because they feel certain that China is on their way to attack. Now, Taiwan has been someplace we have been protecting, and they're like allies. They've been independent and governing themselves for years after the Second World War. So I think it's a bad move for us not to protect them. We don't want to be any wars, and that was something that Biden said in his so-called farewell speech. But you know what? We are at war. One of our closest allies and our only ally in the Middle East, Israel, is being bombarded for the most disgusting speech and acts here in the United States. I want to call on my Jewish friends. What are you doing for your people when you're not standing up and speaking for them? How disgusting that Kamala Harris, Biden, and Blinken all decided not to go to hear Bibi. Disgusting. We still have people from our country that are being held by Hamas in the tunnels, and the Houthis are attacking. What is with our government? They're not protecting us. Don't you think that Putin and Xi and what's his name? The guy in North Korea, slipped my mind. They're all watching us. And Iran has already said they want to get rid of us. This is bad, people. You are not safe. Who is running the government right now? Maybe Obama. Now, here's a question for you to think of and look up before next week for me. Is President former President Obama legally allowed to run and hold the office of Vice President of the United States? You know darn well they can't change the Constitution or anything else that says it's limited to 2 terms right now. Not enough time. There's barely enough time for them to be out there campaigning. I think there were quite a few Republicans that did not attend that speech also. But did you see the standing ovations that he got? He has been a true and faithful ally of ours. And we have been of him. And we're going to ruin this and show such disrespect to a leader of one of the countries that most people are interested in? Our only ally in the Middle East? I just can't even believe what's happening to our country, and you should not be able to believe it either. And you need to speak out. And how do you speak out? In the voting booth. Okay? Well, I think that's about now at the end of my ranting and raving about the Democrat Party. But I will have to tell you, there are people in the Republican Party that I don't respect. And they are the people that think everybody should have an electric car, no matter if you're on welfare and can barely keep your car and make the payments and put gas in it. They think you should go out and spend close to $100,000. And then there are the people who think it's okay to not be able to travel more than maybe 100 miles, and you're in the middle of nowhere because you're taking your kids on a road trip to the Grand Canyon, and there's nowhere to recharge. Sure hope you have one of those cars that have electric and gas. So I also wonder of the people in the Republican Party who think it is fine to fly all over the world auspiciously talking about climate warming, and yet have one of the biggest footprints for carbon emissions in America. There are people who don't like Trump because he was a successful businessman. And I don't know what shady deals he did. He declared bankruptcy on his casinos. It was a bad investment. There are lots of companies that declare bankruptcy. Big deal. I know you think it's a big deal. It is a big deal. It's a failure. But it's not against the law. And as you can see, it's not against the law to take the documents to your office. And then it is against the law for the FBI to come in the dead of night for no reason. Well, they said they had a reason. And go through the first lady's, the former first lady's lingerie drawers. I wonder if they took any. Just disgusting. Now, you know they went through the papers looking for things to see if they were top secret. They spread them out in order on the floor. They weren't on the floor before. They were in the boxes. They were in a secure place. It certainly was more secure than the garage behind a Corvette. And by the way, I don't like Corvettes. I like racier cars than that. Okay, so Trump has had all of these indictments against him, and they're certainly having a hard time convicting him of anything. He is a convicted felon, apparently, for 34 things. I take exception to Biden the other day, so on a campaign trail, saying Trump was a rapist. I really take exception to that. Nobody claimed he was in that suit. So why should Trump? Why do we read in books and hear from Biden's daughter about how they took showers together when she was older? It's just smells to me. I don't know. There's a lot going on both sides. But I'm sticking with our former President Trump. I've read most of his books. He just came out with another one. I think its title is Save America. And if you would like to read some of his books, they're all on wherever you buy your books, Amazon and bookstores, etc. But he is a very interesting businessman, and he was a very successful businessman. And I think that that's what our country needs. So I didn't intend to get into talking about who you should vote for. You know my opinion now. And I hope you will keep looking at them, see what goes on at this next convention in Chicago. You know, I lived in Chicago when they had the Democratic campaign, and they were protesting the Vietnam War and all. That was quite fascinating. All of us who lived during the protest of the Vietnam War, many of us have relatives that were in the Vietnam War. So we're not in favor of war. We're in favor of protecting our own country. All of us, including the Vietnam vets that were fortunate enough by God's grace to come home, my brother being one of them. So I just want to say one more thing. I think that these people who are protesting and on the side of Palestine and Hamas, because that's what they're putting on the statues now, Hamas, from the river to the sea. Look up some of these things. They're disgusting. They shouldn't be allowed to be in our country. And you don't know who's coming over the border because the border czar hasn't done anything about it, and neither has Biden. So that's a good reason to get your vote over to the right side, the red side. Okay. Now, so you've had it with the news? Is that it? I think maybe you better get de-stressed. So we're going to jump into that for a few minutes. And there's more than just the campaign stressing you out. It's the economy. It's that you can only get one bag of groceries compared to two that you used to get. It's how you're substituting eggs, at least I hope you are, eggs for a lot of red meat protein and even fish protein. Because right now, if you can't afford animal protein, you need to get it in a different way. And eggs are high in protein and they're fairly cheap, although they did go up when all of this falderall about the economy happened. But they're still cheaper than buying a steak or even a pot roast. So think about eggs. And don't worry about your cholesterol with the eggs. You'd have to eat a whole lot of eggs to make your cholesterol go up. All right, well, one thing that I'm always telling you is to eat a balanced diet. And that will help with your stress immensely. So while you're thinking about your eggs and replacing them, another thing is try neighborhood markets. The farmers come in and sell some of their produce. A lot of it seems to be very expensive, but the amount you get is larger than you get in a grocery store. And I don't know, there's a lot of warehouse grocery stores and things like that around now. I went in to check out Aldi, ALDI, the other day because if I'm going to tell you something, I want to know what it's about. I didn't find that they were that much less expensive. And it's a true warehouse store. There's not a different selection of things because what they do is they go buy what they can get the best price for and put it in their store. Now they advertise on television that their meat section is very good. I found it very small. I didn't buy anything. I didn't like the looks of it. But some of the other ones, like Costco, people do a wonderful amount of shopping at Costco and Walmart. And Costco in particular has great, what I call discounts, especially if you have a large family or even 4 people. I find it for my husband and me not to be such a great idea. I did use it when I had my kids at home. But for us, my husband bought so much meat one time, and then he was asked to go across the country to turn a company around, and we had a whole freezer worth of food. So I jammed it into my car and drove to Los Angeles and gave it to my son and my daughter. Wow. So sometimes it doesn't work for 2 people or 1 person. But I understand they have good deals on champagne sometimes, so I miss that. All right, so eat a balanced diet, including vegetables and fruits. I can't read my notes. Protein, fish, and some dairy products and things like that. Look what they have. Read the label. Canned foods usually have a lot of preservatives in them, so try to stay away from canned foods. But if you can't afford the fresh fruits and vegetables, check out the frozen in the big bags. Like getting a bag of blueberries, which are so important to your health, is a lot cheaper than buying the fresh ones. And they're perfectly fine, they're good, and they're flash frozen. There are no preservatives in them. So you might want to check that out. All right, get more physical activity. You know what I like to do, and I haven't gotten back into it as I moved to the Palm Springs area because it is really hot. It's going to be 111 today. That's extremely hot, in my opinion. But we did get up to 124 one day, too. So we try to stay inside. We try to get our outside errands done in the morning, like everybody else. So it's jammed to Trader Joe's. But then we come back home, and that's when I work. And that's when my husband does what he does, a little bit of work, and watches his shows, and I've become a news junkie. So that's what we do. And most of the time we eat at home because I feel like it's fresher and I like that. But we do go out and we like fine dining. So we try to do that once in a while too. One thing I love, and it's healthy, they have so many Mexican restaurants down here around where we live in Palm Springs area in the Coachella Valley. I love Mexican food. I've been going to Mexico since I was a child. I have a picture of me in Tijuana when I was like maybe 4. So I love Mexico. We go quite frequently. I know we have some problems now, but don't blame the Mexican people, the residents, okay? All right, practice self-care. I was going to tell you, Mexican food is very healthy. Beans and rice. It's not fried like it is here. It could be grilled. It could be, anyway, baked. And it's delicious. So try it out. Not Taco Bell, although I like that better than the other one. Okay, practice self-care. I bet you don't practice self-care at all. That means take time to exercise. And when you're exercising, the first thing you should do is get up and say hello to the sun. And thank you, God, for having the sun. We've had really weird weather lately everywhere all over the country. But try to get some sunshine, get them walking in. Boy, 45 minutes would be great, but if you could only walk for 15 minutes, that's great too. It helps with your balance. It helps with your mood. It helps with everything. So do that self-care, have that exercise as part of your self-care. And remember, you could do things like go get a manicure and pedicure, go get a massage. I'm going to go have a lymphatic drainage massage because that always peps me up, gets it going all over the body. Try journaling. Write down what you're grateful for. I know everybody talks about journaling, but do you really do it? I don't do it all the time, but I try to. But when I get my feelings out onto paper, it helps me. I have done that when I've missed my son so much and I'm grieving, and I might get angry over what's going on with the politics in our country. So try journaling and see. Start out with being what you're grateful for. Maybe a roof over your head, the good weather. Okay, reduce caffeine. And I think it's nice to have caffeine sometime in the morning. It does give you a little pep. And some people are saying now that caffeine is good for your health, that it helps your heart. I'm not sure about that. So I can't tell you that it's a good idea. I do know when you have a heart attack, they take you off of caffeine. So I would check that out. I haven't found anything that is making me believe how good caffeine is for you. I think things like Red Bull are very dangerous. Spend time with friends and family and be sure to go do some volunteer work. If you're moving to a new area or you don't know anybody, you can do volunteer work if you have the time, or if you need the money, go get a job. Down here in the desert, there are so many women in particular that are checkers, checking you out at the Trader Joe's here, and they all have white hair, meaning they're all over 60. And some of them are in their 80s. I know. I don't know what their hiring age is, but they love to talk. They're so friendly. They're so helpful. They know their merchandise, and they're so pleasant. And the men are there too. So if you want a little more spending money, go get a job like that, or even in a Starbucks someplace. Starbucks, if you don't have any insurance, is really great. They give you insurance. I don't know what Trader Joe's does, but check them out and see. You might find you really like it. Okay? Learn to say no. I can't join all of these things. I can't help with this fundraiser. I'll help you by giving you a little bit of money or time on one day, but I can't organize it for everybody. Avoid procrastination, because you know what that does? It just makes you more nervous and stressed out. Some people say take a yoga class. Well, it's good for meditation, and it's good for mindfulness and setting your mind on your goals and doing all of that. When you're getting out for your morning walk, maybe you have a public park there and you could get out in nature. There's lots of hiking trails here. It's a little too hot to be doing it now, so can't do that. A lot of people have to live by themselves after they lose their spouse. So my advice is try having a pet. It doesn't have to be a cat or a dog. It could be something else. You could have little gophers and watch them run around, or little mice or rats in those big tunnels they have for the kids. It's kind of fun. And last of all, if you feel you're tired, go get a checkup with the doctor. But if you don't want to go to the doctor and you want to try something safe, try some supplements like vitamin C to boost your immune system, vitamin D. If you don't get enough sunshine, that will help with your energy, but it will also help with your depression and anxiety. And that would be a good thing to take if you're feeling a little wishy-washy and for this news period. So I'm going to leave you with these words today, and I think they're really good words to live by. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you have any comments, you can leave them at judithmancini@mac.com. All right, and I will be sure to answer you. You can also find us on Facebook. And you can find me on my own personal Facebook page, Judith Woods McGuire Mancini. I know that's really long on Facebook, but you can find it. It's my maiden name, my children's last name, and my married name now, Mancini. Okay, I love you all. Remember, cherish yesterday, dream tomorrow, and live today.